Chapter 7. The Degradation of Amy Rose. So, Roger, my good fellow, what's the first thing on your mind when you think of dear Miss Amy Rose?
Aha! I got this, Sonic! Sonic! Are you kidding? He was all great!
Insane dangerous psychopath, love child of Minnie Mouse and Stephen King's Misery.
Would you believe me if I said once Amy Rose was written as the heart and soul of Sonic's team of friends? A self-doubting girl finding her place in life, protecting her friends and dreaming of a world of adventure?
What? When? Is this about a stupid UK comic book series again?
It's called Sonic the Comic. Let's look at this scene from Sonic Adventure 2. It's the quasi-essential Amy Rose scene of the series.
Huh? Amy?
Keep your voice down. Have no fear. Amy Rose is here.
The reason I'm in here is because of that fake hedgehog.
You mean that black hedgehog?
Did you see it? Where is it now?
If I tell ya, will you marry me?
No way!
I thought I had you this time.
Okay, so at first glance, she acts like a complete idiot as usual, doesn't she?
Yep, in a highly secured military prison camp, she goes around acting cute and trying to get Sonic to marry her and dancing around like a mentally challenged Scouts girl.
However, if you pay attention, you may notice she's written a little more subtle than you expect. First of all, notice the first thing she says.
Amy?
Keep your voice down.
Shh, keep your voice down. In other words, she is aware of the situation.
Maybe, but it still doesn't stop her from playing around.
Yes, but at least she's aware. I didn't say she's a genius, but she's not a complete buffoon either. She's not mindlessly trying to get Sonic to marry her. She's aware of the situation. This implies her behaviour is all an act. This brings me to the second point. Look how the scene ends. Amy's like, marry me! And Sonic's like, no way! And she's like, oh shucks, you got me! And then she drops the act. It's all an act! She's not really trying to get Sonic to marry her. She's just playing around.
I suppose you can interpret the scene that way. But are you sure this is how she was always portrayed back then?
Let's start at the beginning. In her first game, Sonic CD. According to the manual, Amy's kidnapped and brought to the little planet by Metal Sonic.
No, wait. We see her get kidnapped while we are already halfway through our adventure on a little planet. So that means Amy followed Sonic all the way up there?
Oh yeah, I can see her jumping on top of those big chains like Sonic.
Sonic!
Or our little planet is her actual home, which means that by the end of the game, when Sonic saves Amy and brings her back to planet Mobius, he essentially kidnapped her from her home.
And since Little Planet immediately disappears afterwards, that means Sonic turned her into an orphan and immediately runs away, leaving her all alone on an unknown planet?
That's dark.
Huh. Anyway, point is, she had an adventure. Now, ignoring all the random fighting and racing games following, the next time we see her is in Sonic Adventure. She's bored of her life and longs for the adventure days of Sonic CD. Can't imagine why, as she spends 90% of Sonic CD just being ignored or locked up in a room. But whatever. Now here's an important thing you may have never realised. At no point ever during Sonic Adventure, Sonic Shuffle and Sonic Adventure 2 does she ever directly make any comment about being in love with Sonic.
What do you mean? There's plenty of this.
Oh, Sonic! My hero!
Yes, but she is a fangirl. But pay close attention. Here's the first ever time we see Amy and Sonic interact.
Sonic! Long time no see!
Amy!
What's your problem? See, this little birdie's got in trouble. I think you should be his bodyguard a little while.
What?
Did you see the part where she mentioned wanting to date him? Doesn't happen. The comedy of the scene comes from the fact that she's so bold to ask a renowned world-saving hero to look after a bird. She's a comic relief character, but the comedy doesn't come from the fact she's an insane psychopath that wants to marry Sonic. The jokes come from her innocent, childlike assumptions of the world instead. While Sonic is stopping bombs and monsters and world-destroying terrors, Amy's worried about one little bird. This is funny, but this is also important. This makes her into the soul of Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic is the big hero occupied with big epic adventures, but Amy is here to show him saving the world is more than just destroying giant robots. It's about taking care of baby birds. She never expresses a desire to date or marry him. Her focus on Sonic is entirely based on her desire to break free from her boring life, to do the right thing. She looks up to Sonic for being an action hero. Her purpose is to become part of Sonic's adventure gang, not to marry him. Not even during any of the recap monologues does she bring it up.
I'll make that Sonic respect me.
She wants respect, become a proper hero.
Step aside, Amy! Out of my way!
No! This robot is my friend!
She directly goes up against Sonic in order to save her friend, a robot that she didn't even trust at first. Her desire to save her friends and do the right thing is more important to her than marrying Sonic.
Yeah. Please take note, future Sonic games.
This is all because you were dragging your tail, Vector! Now you'd better talk us out of this mess!
Wait! How is this my fault? I wasn't even here until you hired me a half hour ago!
So what about Sonic Shuffle?
Sonic Shuffle is not written by the real Sonic writers, I guess. Its story doesn't tell us much from the characters. There's still a fascinating hint about Amy's then personality though. It was written during the Sonic Adventure era, when Sega at least tried to tell a story.
Forget about Sonic! Just look at my clothes!
That's out of character.
Indeed, my good fellow. My interpretation, and this is only speculation of course, is that during Sonic Adventure, Sonic Team wrote down a character bible, a rule book of how characters work and should behave. Sonic Shuffle, being written by the same kind of uncaring idiots that would later write Sonic Freeriders and the like, probably followed those rules very broadly. I really think that Sonic Team wrote down something like, Amy is not a generic girlfriend for Sonic, and the Sonic Shuffle team just interpreted that footnote to turn her into a whiny valley girl instead.
Sounds about right. But yeah, now you mention it, in these first 3 games, the only time she ever acts romantic is when she accidentally hugs Shadow and the prison scene later on.
It's like a character arc. Look, Sonic CD, she gets kidnapped, gets a taste of adventure. Sonic Adventure, bored of her life, she desperately wants to be part of Sonic's gang. Frustrated by her helplessness after being kidnapped again, she mans up, destroys the evil robot and saves the bird. This gives her new confidence. Skipping over Sonic Shuffle, in Adventure 2, she discovers Sonic's in trouble and immediately uses this opportunity to prove herself worthy to Sonic. After a false start with Shadow, she starts the whole I want to marry you shtick in the prison. This is all an act. She's giving herself a weird personality as an attempt to show Sonic she's not intimidated by the adventure, that she's confident. However, Sonic is not interested and she drops the act. Despite her confidence, the adventure proves too much for her. She's scared and frustrated that she's still not part of the gang. Then finally, she runs into Shadow. Now we finally come full circle. Here she finally discovers she's not the brave warrior, but instead her purpose in the team is to talk, to find the humanity in people. She convinces Shadow to save the day, and in the end, she's finally regarded as part of the team. See? It's a character arc. So the next time we see her, she attempts to freaking murder Sonic in order to get him to marry her.
What?
Chapter 8. Counter Adventure 2.
Ah, remember in Sonic games after a character gets a task or a compliment, they just nod their head or make a little gesture? And like modern games where they go immediately into a maniacal 5-hour rant about how amazing and awesome they are every time that happens? Sonic Adventure 2 was so subtle.
Subtle? We're talking about the game with the giant truck destroying a city to arrest one hedgehog, right?
Well, yeah.
Ow!
Sonic Adventure 2 is not perfect.
Well, there are a lot of big flaws. It's all damn Shadow's fault we got that onslaught of unnecessary Sonic characters.
It started way before Sonic Adventure 2. Every big main Sonic game introduced a couple new characters.
Yes, but at least Big and Knuckles and each have their own little unique thing. Shadow was entirely created for the sole purpose of being cool. Sonic was already the cool character.
Well, shit, it does work on a different level. He's an evil rival, but Knuckles doesn't work anymore since he was just strict ones, and Metal Sonic doesn't have a real personality.
I swear, there's nothing in the whole world that could ruin any kind of media any faster than introducing a completely unnecessary new character that essentially doesn't add anything new to the mix and just takes precious screen time from the established cast.
I'm Frogman.
Wow! Look! It's our very best friend, Frogman!
Hey, alright Frob? Welcome to the show, mate.
So what are you doing?
I got this weird stone thrown at me about that Sonic Adventure 2 sucked. What a load. So now we're talking about how awesome and perfect that game is. Ow! Sonic Adventure 2 really does suck. Who the hell throws these rocks?
Yeah, I don't like Sonic Adventure too much.
You what? Why?
Well, for one thing, the dramatic stakes are completely off the scale. Sonic Adventure 1 was all like, "Hey Eggman, long time no see. Trying to take over the world, you silly idiots, you. Come on, Tails, let's go find those emeralds. And then Sonic Adventure 2, it's immediately, BAM! Machine guns, gun in Amy's face, moon explodes, people die. It's like turning the adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog into the adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog all of a sudden. The other adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, you know, confusing titles, really.
Well, it does start off kind of light. Sonic making little jokes.
But true, Sonic Adventure 1 didn't have any dark moments at all. Especially not Gales killing an entire Echidna tribe and New York City being completely destroyed by a water disaster, which is of course very awkward to talk about at this moment. As for Sonic Adventure 2, look at the scene. Everything is dramatic here. It's not like you have Chip going around making jokes. All the characters are toned down. The game didn't turn from crazy comedy to Saving Private Ryan in just one scene. This is the end of the game. The story is built up to this moment. It doesn't immediately start with extreme violence like Shadow's game, and it doesn't constantly jump around between stupid humor and the end of the world drama like Unleashed. No, it starts lighthearted and fun, and then gradually it builds up towards a dramatic climax. There's very little cartoony jokes around during the final act, so I think it works.
Every time you see an Eggman threatening somebody like Sonic or his friends, he's always in his Eggmobile or using a giant cannon or giant laser beam gun or whatever, and here it's like, BAM! He's using a handgun in Amy's face, and that's like, for most people that's like a completely serious business. It's not cartoonish anymore.
Well, still a cartoony handgun, but yeah, you have a point, I guess. It is a little bit more realistically dramatic than Robotnik has been in the past, yeah. But not too much.
Oh, and don't get me started on the gameplay. Those tail levels are as glitchy as heck. The desert level was a pain, and those Knuckle and Rouge levels in space. And don't get me started on the fact that they added like...
This show is only about story though. We're not talking about gameplay.
Yeah, besides it was 2001. 3D platform games still sucked back then. They hadn't found a groove yet. Every platform game kinda sucked back then.
True, except, you know, Mario 64. And Crash Bandicoot. And Banjo-Kazooie.
Well, the thing about Sonic's gameplay as a platformer is that Sonic is more spectacle based than just pure gameplay. It's like the fast food sugar coated kind of gameplay. Mario's gameplay, for example, is much more solid and well made, but Mario's kinda, well, straightforward. You walk around in caves and fields of grass, where Sonic, boom, jungles burn to the ground and there's missiles falling down. You go around on roller coasters and snowboarding, tornadoes. While in Mario you're in Snowland, finding stars. Sonic games are harder to make because of this extra spectacle, and therefore I forgive them for having slightly more clunky gameplay, just as I forgive fast food and candy to be bad for my health. Its purpose is to give a buzz, adrenaline, excitement, not to be looked at with perfection and slowly severed. As long as Sonic games find that perfect balance in solid gameplay and set pieces, I don't really mind flaws. Of course, if they lose that balance, too much excitement with no solid gameplay results in Sonic 2006. And where pure gameplay with no set pieces gives us some very adequate and decent games, like the Sega Game Gear games or the Advance series or Sonic 4, they're not very memorable.
Sonic 4, it's actually fun to play, but everybody's always complaining about the way it looks and sounds.
Yeah, lacking memorable set pieces.
Sonic Adventure 2 caused the fan base to just fall apart. When it was re-released on the GameCube, it was the first Sonic game that a lot of non-Sega gamers were introduced to. Especially those who were like 10 and 12, they ran rampant on the internet around that time. The game was too serious, therefore you got a bridge between fans who wanted their light-hearted Sonic back, and solidly new fans that expected Sonic games to be dark and edgy and serious.
It's kind of unfair to judge a game by retrospect though. Not sure how much you can blame a game for how the fan base mutated.
But still, it did. Sonic Mary Sue's and recolors exploded after Shadow was everybody's bread and butter.
Oh god, Sonic Recolors! Nothing's more pathetic than someone designing themselves as a Sonic character with minor changes and adapting a so-called badass personality. What? What are you looking at? Oi, I tell ya, I was Luke the Fox before it was cool. And when I joined DeviantArt 8 years ago, everybody was a hedgehog.
Yeah, sure, whatever. It's unfortunate about the occasional crazy fan, but it can be helped. Every popular pop culture bit has some. Gameplay is a little clunky, but mostly enjoyable. And as for Eggman's handgun, what's the difference between being shot with a hand cannon or an airship cannon for the victim?
How can I take a hedgehog with guns killing things seriously? Why cartoon animals don't work that way?
You're saying talking animals can be taken seriously or have weapons? What about Secret of Nim? Watership Down? Animals of Farthingwood?
Mr. and Mrs. Pheasant, why did you have to die?
Those are pretty damn serious. Funny talking animals with weapons? Just Jack Rabbit, Bucky O'Hare, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Bike Out from Mars? Seriously, why is it with Sonic such a big deal?
Those movies are standalone and completely different. Watership Down is a drama from start to finish. But Sonic Adventure 2 has its own pedigree. It follows upon the Mega Drive games, or Genesis for you Yanks, I don't care. It can just go to a new direction, and since Sonic Adventure 2, every Sonic game thinks it should be going in the same route. Suddenly, the developers decide, you know what, this story needs to be dark and edgy, to please the new kids and...
Okay, what are you talking about? All Sonic games post Adventure 2 are dark. Sonic Advance isn't dark, Sonic Riders isn't dark, Sonic 4 isn't dark, Sonic Advance 2, Sonic Cross Adventure, Sonic Rivals, Sonic Zero Gravity, Sonic Advance 3, Sonic Rivals 2, not to mention Colors and Generations. What the hell do you mean all Sonic games have dark storylines? Only maybe Sonic Battle, maybe Sonic Unleashed? If you're talking about Shadow's game and Sonic 2006, I'm pretty sure those games had bigger issues than just their story.
Say what you will about Sonic Heroes' story, well, it is very silly and simple and not that good. Most of the new fans who got into Sonic Adventure 2, they pretty much went, hey, what's with this story? We want those kind of serious stories from Sonic Adventure 2 back again.
Can we please stop associating light or dark with whether our story is good or not? Colors and Heroes stories aren't disliked because they're light-hearted. It's because, as you just said, they're incredibly stupid and pointless. Get a Riders of Venus and Ferb to pen a story or something. I'm sure everyone but the most cynical of fans could enjoy that. I don't care about light or dark. I care about writers who know what they're doing. Sonic Adventure 2 had those.
It reminds me of Transformers. There's so many Transformers that only a handful...
Anyway, there are a couple more things that bother me about Sonic Adventure 2. For one, this scene always weirds me out.
Hey, where are you going?
Move aside, Knuckles. I managed to find the transcript.
I don't get this scene. It's so weirdly pointless. Why does Knuckles ask Amy, where are you going, when she grabs him? And she shouts, move out of the way? Why? Move out of the way of what? And then she tries to help Knuckles but immediately gives up. It's so weird. Is there a scene deleted here? Or a translation mistake or something?
I mean, Knuckles is not in the way of Tails since we later see him drive off with no problem, and Knuckles never said anything about being stuck. Weird. I'm probably looking too far into it though. So Luke, you're having any crazy conspiracy theories?
What bothers me about Sonic Adventure 2 is this. Okay, so Sonic meets Shadow for the first time, and then he says this.
Say something, you fake hedgehog!
Fake hedgehog? What? What the heck is he talking about? What is fake about Shadow being a hedgehog? Well, other than the fact he doesn't resemble an actual planet Earth hedgehog, I guess, but Sonic is not doing any better. He's directly accused of being a fake hedgehog. Where did that come from? Sonic stands a large distance from Shadow. Did he spot any place of metal and nails in Shadow's skin or something?
You're right. And they keep calling each other like that, don't they?
That blue hedgehog again, of all places. I found you, Faker. Faker? I think you're the fake hedgehog around here.
Faker? Fake what?
Well, Sonic thinks Shadow impersonated him, because that's what's got him arrested.
Yes, but he doesn't say imposter, he says faker, which is a really strange way of putting it.
It's indeed a weird way to say it.
It gets even more fascinating. As you know, this kicks off the whole ultimate life form thing. From this point on, Everybody keeps referring to Shadow as the ultimate life form.
I'm the world's ultimate life form.
Shadow, the ultimate life form.
Even Mephiles calls Shadow the ultimate life form. And not because Shadow introduced himself as such, he just randomly calls Shadow an ultimate life form just based on the 10 seconds he sees him. And sometimes it's not ultimate life form, but ultimate hedgehog.
I am the ultimate hedgehog.
And all the characters completely go with it.
Ultimate life form?
Ultimate life form, Dina. The ultimate life form.
I guess he was just a regular hedgehog after all.
Regular hedgehog, fake hedgehog, ultimate hedgehog. This ultimate life form starts to become less and less about who's the strongest and fastest, but more about who's the hedgehogest. The ultimate hedgehog! I mean, that's the first, heck, the only thing Sonic takes offense with when he meets Shadow. Not, "You imposter!" or "What have you done to the city?" No, "You fake hedgehog!" Him being a hedgehog is the biggest crime. Like there's a law that there's only one hedgehog allowed. The ultimate hedgehog, if you will.
But where does Amy fit into this thing?
Yeah, I wonder how Sonic's first meeting with Amy was in Sonic CD.
Hi, I'm your biggest fan.
I found you, faker.
Did I upset you? I'm sorry.
Say something, you fake hedgehog!
What does that mean anyway, being the ultimate hedgehog?
Well, it means Shadow is an extremely strong fighter, of course.
Not necessarily. I mean, the meaning of the word ultimate depends on the following word. See, if I say this is the ultimate pizza, that doesn't mean that the pizza is very strong as a capable fighter, because that would make the pizza inedible, and that's hardly an ultimate pizza. And as we know, Shadow is
The ultimate hedgehog.
So Shadow's specifically good at being a hedgehog. You know, crawling itself into a ball and hanging out in your back garden.
hedgehogs are indeed mostly known for using their quills, their spikes. And where Sonic gladly makes use of them, Shadow prefers guns, so he already fails at that part of being a hedgehog. Also, I can't say I spotted Shadow in my back garden yet.
Well, then he's just ultimate in regular animal things. You know, feeding himself, mating, surviving.
He's better in feeding and mating and surviving than Sonic? Well, that's easy. Sonic only eats junk food, so eating more healthy is easy. And as for mating,
I'm out of here.
Hey, wait up, Sonic!
he seems only interested in females he's biologically incompatible with. So that's 2 score for Shadow and 1 score for Sonic. Shadow wins, or it's a draw if Sonic would be better in survival, I guess.
Well, this ultimate lifeform stuff has to do with Professor Gerald Robotnik, right? He wanted to create the perfect lifeform with his little alien pal, created by a lizard as a prototype, and then Shadow as the finished product.
But why does Sonic care? And more importantly, why does he care even before the whole Space Colony arc and Giles Robotnik stuff is even introduced to him? And why does Mephiles care? This just doesn't work at all.
I guess Sonic Team has big plans for big, shocking revelations or something.
Working toward a storyline where Sonic's origin also has to do with Space Colony arc? Imagine, Sonic brought up with the idea that he's the only hedgehog in the world, and then Shadow suddenly shows up. Vague memories of Gerald Robotnik. Perhaps Sonic was created in that lab too. That would give Eggman and Sonic some extra connection. Just looking at Adventure 2, this storyline could have been playing in the minds of the writers. But it seems this line of thought was thrown out. Too many issues like Amy perhaps, or unwilling to do extreme things with Sonic. Or maybe I'm just seeing ghosts and they just picked very strange words to convey the story. I don't know what a Japanese dialogue says. Who can say?
And because KISS players exist, I cannot say the live-action movies are the worst thing ever to happen to Transformers, but I can still say that Wheelie's the worst character ever to exist in Transformers ever.
Wreck, what?
What? Who said it? Who are you? What are you doing here? Ow! Where do these rocks keep coming from?